I would call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for December 16th. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Pill?
Here.
Commissioner Fleet?
Here.
Commissioner Anton?
Here.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Here.
Commissioner Van Buren is here, and Chairman Richard.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, if you would please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have to swear everybody in, so anybody has to be sworn in, please raise your hand. I swear that any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I do.
I do. Okay. First item on the agenda is, well, I will ask everybody to silence any and all electronic devices. And then approval of the minutes of our November 11th meeting, which you all have. So
Motion to
moved.
approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill and seconded by Commissioner Anton. Question on the motion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Anton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Present.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard.
Yes. Okay, the minutes are hereby adopted as printed. Under new business, planning and zoning item 09026. Gloria Lynn of Liberty Tax Service with Mark J. Mueller regarding the property located at 8.5 North Cass for the following. A, special use permit request to operate a ground floor office in the B1 Limited Business District. If you would, please, I need to swear you in.
Yes.
So that I swear any testimony, please raise your hand. I swear that any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I swear that anything that I said today will be the truth, the whole truth, so help me God.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Gloria Lynn, and that's my husband, Art. We're the owner of Liberty Tax Service, and it's a franchise, national franchise. And I have been operating Liberty Tax for the past 3 years here in Westmont. My previous location was on Ogden Avenue, 313 West Ogden. That's right next to Las Palmas Mexican restaurant and the Catholic shop. So we have been there for the past 3 years, and the lease was up, and then so this is a great opportunity for me to try to find a better location, and we found this location right here by downtown Westmont, and the landlord was Mark Mueller. And I understand that a special permit is required, and that's why I'm in this process of acquiring the special permit to move my office from Ogden to Cass.
All right. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this issue? We'll close the public comment. Let's start with Commissioner Fleet, if you would.
I know where you are on Ogden Avenue.
Yes.
Because of the person who stands out there in the foam rubber Statue of Liberty.
Yes.
Could you reveal who that person is? Is that you? No.
He did it. Yeah, my husband, he did have to do that a few times, and then sometimes I would be out there with our kids, you know, just for the fun. But we do have part-time waivers. We call it waiver, and that is part of our marketing campaign, a national. That's why people actually from other parts of the country, they will recognize us for having the Lady Liberty out there waving. And honestly, that is a very successful way, because I would say 70% of our customers, when we ask them, how did you hear about Liberty? They would say, oh, I saw your guy out there. And they're mostly people, I found them through Labor Ready, and also just through different people. Sometimes we even go to the pads and stuff, and you know, asking for people. And most of these guys are really just want more hours to work. And in my office, I would have boots, overalls, and hot chocolate and stuff. We really do take good care of these people. And I tell all my preparers that our waivers are our important people because they are our marketers.
Okay, so now we come into a downtown area.
Yes.
How do you plan to have your signs on your building? And would you still look at using a waiver or someone on the sidewalk?
My signs would still be the long box sign from Ogden. That I believe it still falls under the square footage that it's allowed for that storefront. So that would be my main sign. And then, yes, we will still have the waiver, and he will still probably just stay by our store or around the corners.
Okay. No further questions.
Okay.
While we're still on that subject, would staff care to comment? Is this public waiver allowed on the street in the B1 Business District?
To my knowledge, we probably should be treating that as some sort of temporary signage of some sort. Do they have any logoing or anything that are they holding a sign or?
Yes, they do have signs, and I remember when we were on Ogden, I forgot who was a guy who came over, and he later on, I think he was from the city planning person down in that office, and later on he did say we were allowed to have the waiver, but if I was to apply for those big, we call it wind feather signs, then that would require the permit, which I did apply for the permit.
I think that if our legal counsel were here tonight, he'd probably tell us that it would be within the realm of the special use permit to consider whether or not that component should be a part of this authorization. As far as the wall signage goes, the applicant and I have discussed that. She's in the process of preparing renderings. She had indicated that she may like to use the existing signage and move it to the new location. However, I've provided the downtown Main Street guidelines as sort of a frame of reference so that she is aware of what is generally in character there, and also that it would meet the area requirements. So that's to be reviewed, and that will be done as a sign permit.
So it might not be a bad idea then to include in our motion either for or against, either up or down to
Correct.
recognize the waiver. All
I
right.
want to do it.
No problem. Okay.
Oh, actually, if I may,
Please.
one of the comments I got from because I have two stores. The other store is right in Downers Grove by 75th and Fairview. And the waiver that I have last year says he ended up just seeing moms driving this way and come back with kids the other way. And a lot of times moms have to slow down just to make sure the kids can do interaction without waiver. And so even for our waivers, they felt it was just a fun thing just to be able to seeing the moms every day and the kids every day, and it's like connecting with the community. So that's just how I feel about, it becomes part of the community for us.
Okay. Commissioner Fidesco.
I do have a question regarding your waiver. As far as what hours would that person or persons, be out there? Would it be daily, on weekends? What type of hours?
What we have done before is usually from 10 o'clock until when it gets dark, usually 5 or 6.
Okay, so they'd be out there for the majority of the day.
Right.
And your primary focus or audience is the tax season. So
Yes.
you'd be primarily doing this from the beginning of the year through the tax filing date.
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
Okay. All right. And as far as, I don't have any other questions.
And we do have particular trainings. They have for corporate, they have a special PowerPoints we have to show whoever that comes in, and obviously, we have to obey all the traffic laws. We cannot make any, try to make any danger situation for himself or for the pedestrians or the drivers. We have that. That's like a prerequisite for someone to become a marketer.
With the trains coming and going, there will be at different points in time, there will be a substantial number of people.
Right.
Either going, at that point in time would be coming home on the trains.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Van Buren.
Yeah. Do you operate 12 months a year in both your offices?
For the past 3 years, when I have both locations, during the off-tax season, I offer office hours, once at Westmont, once a week Westmont, and let's say Tuesdays on Westmont, Thursday at Downers Grove. But since I closed down my Ogden store since May, I operated through my Downers Grove for the past off-tax season, every Tuesday and Thursdays.
Do you have any other business that you can do during the slow, any bookkeeping for small firms or anything of that nature? Is that part of your operation or no?
Yes, I have not opened that option yet, but that is a available option that we can pursue.
And when you sign a lease with your respective landlord,
Yes.
is it an annual lease or is it go by the month?
Right now, it's 18-month lease.
Okay.
18 until April of 2011. So 12 plus 4, 16-month lease.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Anton?
I love the waiver. Great.
Don't waive the waiver then.
With the training thing, that means I'm out. Like, if you gotta be trained, I can't be trained. No, I don't have a problem with it. I think more space getting used up and traffic going in and out of there, it's kind of a good thing. And
Yeah, and
livens the place up a little bit. I like it.
And also, if I may, since you were saying more traffic to the downtown area, we do a lot of what we call B2B, business to business. So instead of passively just waiting in our area, for customers to come in, I would go actively trying to, other than involve myself with Chamber of Commerce, but also just trying to, introduce our business to the surrounding areas and build up networking situations. So, obviously, I have been here in the Westmont location for the past 3 years, but there's still more to be built up in terms of relationship. So, yes, definitely, that's another area I'd love to be improve upon and contribute more to the city.
Good luck.
Commissioner Pill?
Thank you. I think this is also a very unique space in that it's quite small, and there's been a lot of difficulty with finding someone going back to the ice cream shop, and we really haven't had anyone who's been a good fit for this, and I think that this business plan is a good fit for that particular space. I have no problem with the concept. I, like Commissioner Anton, like the waiver. I think that brings a little life and excitement into the downtown area a little bit. I drive by the old waiver on Ogden. I'm up and down Ogden a lot as I live and work up in that area, and I always wave to the waiver. So,
Try and splash them.
We do, encourage them to have their iPods or music in. And last year, I actually had this guy. He was just such a good
dancing
dancer.
waiver, oh yeah.
Yeah, and
that
then
one, I'd come back twice for that.
and on weekends sometimes I have younger age, in their 20s, and there was one guy I had back in Downers Grove. I think he's a part-time college kid, so he really needs to earn more money. He was just dancing his way, and then, he enjoys it. Every time he comes in, he's all sweaty, too. Yeah.
Well, I wish you luck.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas?
When you first mentioned the waiver, I have no problem with it, except for the fact that it would probably be a better fit up on Ogden, and the confined spaces of the sidewalk, and people now downtown hopefully are walking past the waiver, and if he has an iPod in or something and is not paying attention, and you could be liable for, but as long as you say they have to go through a corporate PowerPoint
Yes,
presentation
right.
and what the do's and don'ts.
Yes.
I think you are kind of vulnerable to bumping into passerbyers, and but I support.
Thank you. Yes,
Cautious.
we do make sure that everyone sees that PowerPoint before they come out, because there's also times where you need to make sure you're in your best behavior when people scream and shout at you. There are certain gestures you're not supposed to do and all that. So we do have training on that, and we do communicate that with our marketers.
That's all I have.
Okay, does staff have any comments on this?
Just a couple of general comments. As we're talking this evening, a few thoughts have come into my mind that we may need to get clarification on before the village board meeting. And that is in terms of soliciting and what sort of special licensing through the clerk's office may be necessary, as well as the fact that this will now be done on public property. So there are a few points that staff will have to research between now and actually tomorrow evening when this is going to be scheduled to go before the village board. Separately, in discussing this petition with the village attorney, John Zemanek, he had suggested that we consider whether or not we'd like to have this business have the sunset clause that we've had for other special use permits for offices, where it would just apply to this business and this operator, and if she should sell or cease to operate there, a similar use or a different owner would not be able to continue the business. So if that's something that is at the commission's pleasure to entertain, if you do want to do that, you'd have to add another motion.
Well, that could be a good suggestion, because if they ever wanted to consolidate the space to one tenant,
Correct.
they might be hamstrung. So I could see where that would have some viability. To be honest with you, I would question the desirability of having you come into our B1 business district because you are not generating any sales tax revenue. But given the size of this office, it is really so small that you would be a very good fit, which could lend me to think that you would fit in there very well. One thing that bothered me was your office hours. What hours, again, are you contemplating being open just one day a week?
Oh, no, that's during the off-tax season, but that's because I have 2 locations. But during the off-tax seasons, I would also make appointments available. So all our tax clients who, after tax season, sometimes they still have questions, or people who file late, they can always call us and it forwards to my cell phone, and I can always meet them any other time other than the set hour.
But roughly then from April 15th through January 1,
Yes.
your office will only be open one day a week?
1 day or 2 days a week. I can, yes.
I was hoping we would get somebody that would be in there 5 at least days a week.
That is a possibility. You know, I'm also considering a different, such as bookkeeping and other, services. But definitely 1 to 2 days, because my Downers Grove location will actually expire its lease coming up this coming April. So I might have to consolidate all my off-tax season hours at Westmont location too.
Well, you see, the way I'm looking at this, we're in a position to either recommend or not recommend a special use permit.
Yes.
And you're only going to be most probably 8 months a year, one day a week. That I would question as to how much foot traffic you're going to generate for our downtown, which is what we want for the B1 district.
Okay.
I would strongly
Yes.
look from you a very strong commitment to be open more days a week.
Or what? There's no business.
Well, then perhaps she might not be a fit for this. The way I look at it.
Throughout the years, such as all the chambers events, for example, the pumpkin harvest, I was involved too, out there giving out. Even this past pumpkin harvest, I used the chambers hallway. I was the only one. 2 years ago, at least we have 4 vendors. But this year, we were the only one using the chamber place and giving out the candies and giving out our Liberty Tax balloons. And so I guess throughout the year, even though I'm not actively opening with my business, I would always make myself that we're present in the community. And so having a downtown location, let's say next year, doing the pumpkin harvest, we can definitely use that location better.
Okay.
But throughout the years, yes, I would, special events and stuff, we would definitely want to get more involved.
Any further comments, commissioners? All right, since we have a special use request, we need a reading of the findings of fact. If we could have that, please.
Criteria number 1, the proposed use at this location will not have any adverse effects above and beyond those inherently associated with such a special use, irrespective of its location within the zoning district. This smaller sized property is uniquely suited for a ground floor office use. There is no second floor or basement space on the property in which to locate this proposed office use. Given the current economic conditions, there is uncertainty whether a sales tax generating retail or restaurant use would occupy this space, particularly given the small size of the space. The proposed office use will have no unique parking, lighting, hours of operation, or other adverse impacts on surrounding properties or the public.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. The findings of fact for a special use permit are hereby adopted. Under Planning and Zoning Item 09026, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees. Item A, special use permit request to operate a ground floor office in the B1 Limited Business District.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Anton, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco, I believe I heard.
Two of us.
Was I
There were
correct?
two,
or-
there were two of us, but that doesn't matter which
Okay.
one.
I hear better out of my right ear. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Question on the motion. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Anton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
In both cases, yes.
And Chairman
One vote.
Richard.
It's one vote.
I'm going to vote no because I'm dismayed that you will not be operating your business 5 days a week for us. That's the only other reason. Otherwise, I believe you're a perfect fit for there, and you most probably will go in, but that's my problem with you.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other motions on this concerning the waiver? Does anybody care to, or a sunset
Well,
clause?
I'd like to make a motion that we
Please do.
entertain a sunset clause on this particular property so that it coincides with this particular business and this business only. If a new business should choose to come in, they can reapply just like these folks have done.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Pills, seconded by Commissioner Anton. Question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Anton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. Any other motion concerning the flag waiver, or let staff handle that with the trustees?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you have our recommendation, and staff will tell you about tomorrow evening's meeting with the Board of Trustees at the Committee of the Whole.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank
Good
you.
luck to you.
Thank you.
Next item, workshop discussion, Planning and Zoning Item 09027, Village of Westmont regarding the 1998 Comprehensive Plan rewrite. Staff? Okay, Shannon?
Thank you, Chairman Richard. The commission will recall the joint meeting that was held between the Village Board and Planning and Zoning Commission on November 9th, where staff presented some information regarding some of the successes and some of the difficulties with the 1998 Comprehensive Plan, which is the current plan that the village has as adopted. And at that point, staff was directed to pursue the drafting of a request for qualifications for consulting services to solicit the participation of a comprehensive planning firm or consultant. The RFQ has been attached to your staff report this evening. One of the things that I wanted to point out, actually two things, there were two minor just Scribner's errors in there that I did notice in reviewing that. Also, let's see here, the APA, the American Planning Association, as presented at last month's meeting, we've previously used their two-step request for qualifications and request for proposals in order to use their free website and get consultants to respond to us. It's a great resource for casting a wide net and getting the most qualified firms, and they've actually changed their requirements since we last used that for the parking study about 1.5 years ago. They don't any longer require the two-step process. They'll allow us to go straight to the posting of an RFP. Fred and I at the staff level have discussed this at great length. There are some advantages in terms of cost and time savings. Also, we are still able to kind of whittle down the list of who we feel are the most qualified consultants by just not inviting those that we don't deem qualified to interview. So we were finding that in the parking study, there were a lot of the same proposals being submitted twice. We thought that this would also be an opportunity to provide consultants with a means of saving their time and energy as well. But we did want to open that up to consideration. So the document before you tonight's written using the request for qualifications language. It's probably a little bit overly rich in the way that it's written. We could condense it a little bit more if you do recommend the RFQ route. Otherwise, it's probably adequate to go forward right away in its form as an RFP.
Mr. Chairman, we might also add, one of the pragmatic things with which we have to be concerned at this time, given our revenue picture and the overall state of the Illinois and the national economies, is that we had talked about maybe doing this over a 2-year period, spanning 2 fiscal years. So perhaps initiating the RFP process, then maybe doing something in the 2nd or 3rd quarter so that the work could commence in the 3rd or 4th quarter of this year and be funded with some funding that would be included in the budget for 2010, and then having the second half of the funding being appropriated for the following fiscal year so that it wouldn't be such a big hit to the village all in the same fiscal year. Speeding up the process has an advantage, but it also has that disadvantage, and if we're trying to spread it over 2 years, we don't want to do it too quickly so that there will be a lack of continuity between the first part of the work that's done by the consultant and the second part of the work having to span 2 fiscal years. So we just...
You would be getting a commitment, obviously, from the same consultant. You wouldn't want to be changing.
Certainly not.
So, okay, that's one thing. The other thing that I was a little surprised to see that you're not compelled to go with low bidder. Assuming that they meet the qualifications for bidding and they've met all the criteria that you have, aren't you comparing apples to apples, and the only difference then is the amount, their bid?
Maybe, maybe not. I think, Commissioner, you raise a very good point, and I know in state and local government, this falls under the professional and artistic designation, and there is latitude here. And the example we always used when I was involved in state government, I remember the legal counsel for one of our state agencies explaining to me, well, now let's assume that you needed brain surgery. Do you necessarily want to go with the low bidder? Well, that kind of puts it into perspective. Something that's very important that involves some professional latitude, some artistic ability, credentials, and unique experience can be factored into it so that you may or may not want to necessarily go with the low bid, just as you might with a healthcare professional. So things like planners, architects and engineers, medical doctors, those fall under this professional and artistic category and do give you a little bit of a latitude there in selecting who you ultimately feel is the best consultant to do the job for us in the best light.
Well, low bidder isn't always a good one. You know that.
Other than the apparent speeding up of the process, what are the negatives to going straight to the RFP? I somehow am missing that.
I don't see any other than that chronological progression thing. And, if we did go straight to the RFP, there isn't anything that says, if we award this to a certain consultant, you have to start within the next 2 weeks. We could say, we want you to start the work towards the 2nd or 3rd quarter of our next fiscal year. But that would have to be a stipulation that we
Well, I
would
see
make.
that you have it due in 2 months. You could make it due in 3 months.
Sure.
Actually, just to clarify that point, it's not necessarily that it has to speed up the process, because we can release it as an RFP whenever we decide to. That 2 months is just like an average amount of time that once issued would be that the amount of time that people have to respond. So that's not our deadline. That's really just an estimate of how long we should leave it out for.
Sure.
Please, let's do this just on an open forum.
The other question I have is, we do this sometimes in construction where we'll take and have a service come in and do the work near the end of the year, and they complete the whole body of work in that year, and they get their first payment, 50% or whatever, and you get them, and after January 1st, they get paid again. So you don't have to wait 2 years to get the study done. You can get it done, we can get the information and use it right away. Like some of the trustees, when we had the joint meeting, we're excited about getting the information and starting to use it. So if you set this right, with the request for pricing and say, the body of work gets done in the end of, 2010, you get paid a certain amount of dollars now, and then after the first of the year, whenever the fiscal year starts and the budget goes again, they can get paid the rest. And that could be 30 to 60 days into 211. So you can get the work done early and have it done continuous and make sure it's a good study and research, and then the payment comes a little bit later. I know all about getting paid later. So you can do that, and then that would help us out hugely. We put it in here that the body of work is done in 2010. You'll get some of the money, you get the rest of the money after the new year.
I wanted to make a comment. I've been involved in many RFQs and RFPs, and I definitely agree with going straight to the RFP process, because RFQs, in my mind, are pretty useless, because what they are is they're basically an RFP response without the pricing. Yeah. Basically, that's what it is.
Some ways,
and many times, I mean, yes, you can do other things, if you're requesting for information, but this is a qualification, and it becomes an RFP response. And as far as the being paid over many years or multiple years, I'm currently involved in a situation which is just exactly that. In fact, it is set up such that it gets paid in 5 years. And it is a governmental agency, so, I mean, it is done. So it's not uncommon.
Great.
But as long as the proposers understand that going in.
Now, when, in order to, about postponing it to later in the year so that it would coincide with our ability to pay, it might be to the advantage of the consultant to know that, or present what we want to them. They say, and then we tell them, we don't want you to do it until September, August, or whatever, which would then allow them to do a more accurate one and be able to schedule other businesses ahead of ours and schedule us in it.
Another option, certainly.
So it allows them to, so that's it.
I did have one question. Under the RFQ, desired outcomes, on the verbiage, the selected firm will be responsible for providing all required services necessary to complete the Village of Westmont Comprehensive Plan. Now, you would not be looking for them to give us a completed plan. I would presume whatever commission the trustees deem to generate the final draft, that it would be that commission.
It's actually customary for the consultant to prepare the draft plan and present it, and then the body would then review and comment all throughout the process. There would be a final draft and then another review cycle. So they would actually create the document in full.
Now, Shannon, if I'm not mistaken, aren't you qualified also for this? With your course of study and?
I'm more of a current planner and zoning kind of specialty. As far as long-range planning, it's a matter of my coursework, have done a little bit of that. But that's why we had the discussion regarding the use of the consulting services for that level of expertise that we may not be able to provide at the staff level. So they'll be utilizing us as much as we'll be utilizing them, and we will be complementary towards each other. But it's something that most municipalities, especially in this region, have moved away from doing in-house, especially with a small planning staff such as ours. So
well, that leads me to my train of thought, because have you read our old 1998
Yes.
plan? Do you find it lacking?
The PowerPoint presentation that was presented last month was actually prepared by myself after review of that plan. So while there were a number of successes that came out of it, there are some things that aren't there, such as the actual land use plan. That's a major component that was omitted. There isn't the long-range land use plan, which is necessary at the staff level for us to be able to provide guidance to developers and people that are coming in with proposals. A lot of the information is out of date just simply because of the census data coming from 1990 as opposed to the 2000 or the upcoming census. So.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of other observations. We think the 98 plan was relatively weak in terms of very specific goals and objectives to be pursued in each part of the plan. And also, we've been led to believe, in talking with Commissioner Van Buren and others who participated in the compilation of that plan, that there was very little public input. That, it's like Yogi Berra used to say, if the people don't want to come out, how can you stop them? And I think it was tough to get people to participate and create that community vision. I think I heard Commissioner Van Buren say something to the effect of, we found ourselves sitting around talking with each other many of the meetings
That's true,
that we had.
but one thing I would like to say is Oliver Bishop was a professional planner.
Certainly.
And he, for what we started with and what we didn't have and what we ended up with, I think was a pretty credible document, particularly if you think about how far behind we were as a village in developing our along the railroad. He was way ahead with that and the zoning that would be required, and also to get a viable downtown. So there were many good things that were at plan. I understand that after this length of time, without any updating that, there wasn't the end-all plan for Westmont, but I do want to give him credit. He was the main driving force behind that. Most of us were not that knowledgeable in planning.
And I think it did give us an excellent starting point, because it was a very fine overview of current conditions that had never been compiled like that before for this community. So, in order to establish that vision and the roadmap to get from here to there, you first have to have a very clear definition of where exactly are we in order to know what your starting point is. And I think in that sense, it was a very good document.
Yeah. I also happened to be on the board at that plan, and it's true, as I recollect, there was very little input from the public whatsoever. And without Oliver's work, with his guiding hand, I know I learned a tremendous amount at that meeting as to everything that's involved in this, and it's quite comprehensive. That's why I asked you what we were lacking.
And as far as what we have in that plan document, to Mr. Bishop's credit, any consultant is going to find that to be a landmine of information going forward, because as Fred said, it's a great existing conditions report. It provides a great deal of information on the background of how we came to be a village and where to go. So it's going to be another resource in their arsenal coming up with where do we go from this point forward in the next 2 decades.
Okay, well, I value your opinion as a planner, very much so. That's why I distinctly asked you how our plan was lacking, because here it's what we've done in-house, and we do have some needs that have to be addressed, and these needs would be very helpful to staff. So I think why go to an RFQ? Let's go right straight to an RFP, as far as I'm concerned.
And Fred, on this, this is like a rewrite, or is it a completely new plan? Completely new? This is all going to go to the wayside then, the original 98?
It will become part of the archive of historical information that, leads us to the point about identifying where we start and how we get to where we want to be in 2030, 2020, down the road.
Interesting.
Along with some other very valuable documents that have been done since the 98 comprehensive plan, the 2001 TOD study, the downtown parking study that was done a couple of years ago. Shannon, there were a couple of
marketing study for the South Westmont Business District, our own zoning and land development codes, all of those things. And ideally what we'll do to kind of piggyback off of Commissioner Anton's comment is now we will have a plan that's current, and then 5 years from now, that's usually the time at which you would decide to do a rewrite or a revamp, make sure it's all kind of still accurate, staff at that point, would be able to make those minor sort of edits to keep it current so that we don't have to replicate this, that soon.
And the original 1998 comprehensive plan has been modified with the knowledge and input of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Village Board over the years. Several modifications include the rezonings that we did on North Cass Avenue in that 3 and 400 block a few years ago. At the time we executed those rezonings, upon the advice of legal counsel, we also implemented a simultaneous resolution formally modifying the comprehensive plan to reflect the fact that we had rezoned that and changed the strategic emphasis for development in that particular area. We did a similar thing with the South Westmont Business District. Not only did the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Village Board establish the South Westmont Business District, there was also a formal modification to the comprehensive plan acknowledging the implementation of that new district there. So any good comprehensive plan has to be a dynamic document, a changing plan that can adapt to changing conditions within the community. And, we just look back to, some of the data for the 1998 plan was compiled, in the mid-1990s. And for those of you who are watching or on the commission who have been longtime residents of the village, think back to what the town looked like in 1995 or 96 and see if it looks anything like it looks today. I think numerous changes that, if we had those photographs out here of the various businesses and parts of the community and we could lay those down next to current photographs, wow, what a change, in a 15 or 20-year period.
We definitely need it.
But I'm not any older in all that period of time, isn't that amazing? Anybody else? Well, why don't we formalize this with a recommendation then to the Board of Trustees to go straight to an RFP for a consultant for the comprehensive plan.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Anton, seconded by Commissioner Fleet. Question on the motion? May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Anton?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. We do have one other piece of business, and that is our 2010 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting schedule. And this is to be published in the newspaper, Shannon, I believe.
I believe that is correct. And it's also published in our village calendar and on our website.
Okay. And did anybody care to make a motion that we adopt this schedule?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Question on the motion? May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Anton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes, and Chairman Richard?
Yes. Any further business to come before by any members? Commissioner Pill?
I'd like to just make one other comment on the comprehensive plan, and I believe it was established at the joint meeting also, that we were interested in having the new census data, and that would fit into that delayed timeline somewhat, because that's not going to happen on January 1. It's going to take a year before that comes out, or I'm not even sure how that exactly works, but it's going to be a while for that, and it would be nice to have that data in there, because that would be fresh data.
Agreed. Any further business? Well, then, closing argument or closing comment, I'd like to wish everybody out there that either watches us or in the audience a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Anton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Merry Christmas.